Joy. That's what I want to start with, joy. Because that's what this week has been, has it not, brothers? From the entrance Wednesday night with that jazz band and that music, to Ellis Marsalis gracing us with his performance. We'll leave the comedian out of it. The Sinfonia strings and the Men of Song chorus. Was there anyone in there who had a dry eye that night in the St. Louis Cathedral? To the 1898 Jazz Orchestra, who just blew the back out of that hall. Right? To the Sinfonia Winds and The Path, the world premiere performance of the fantastic work by Brother David Holsinger. I don't know that any one of you who came to this convention experiencing some kind of struggle or whatever in your life could not be lifted up by the music this week. We have a great power in the music that we share. And that is our greatest gift that we can give, brothers. Share that joy every chance you get. It's a true and humbling honor to address this convention as the 33rd individual to be elected national president of Phi Mu Alpha Sinfonia. Before I proceed with my remarks, there are a number of people who I do want to recognize, because without them I would not be here today. There's always a danger in a list like this because I might leave somebody out. I promise you that I'm not doing that on purpose. Ed has put me on a strict time limit. So if I have left somebody out, blame Ed. At the top of this list, and pretty much every list I have, is my beautiful wife, Courtney. And this is the part that I never could quite get scripted. I love you. I love you. Bunches of tons. To my mom and dad, they're not here today, or they haven't been here all week, but I have to recognize them, because it's really amazing to me that two people could go from being such complete idiots from the time I was between the ages of 13 and 18 to two of the smartest people that I know today. Thank your parents, brothers. They've done the best that they can with you, for better or for worse. Thank them. To someone who has taught me more than I have time to list, and whose shoes I have the hopelessly impossible task of filling in this role as national president, John Mangiovi. It's been a true honor and pleasure to work with you for the fraternity over the past years, and it's an even greater honor to call you my friend. Thank you, brother. There are a number of brothers who have mentored me along the way, but there's a trio of people that kind of stand out for me. Jeff Sperry and Rich Crosby may very well wrestle over who gets to say that they discovered me years ago when I was a young, wide-eyed, inexperienced CPR with a couple of big, crazy ideas. Jeff, where are you? Jeff's right over there. He was my province governor. And Rich, of course, is right down here in front. Rich was the national president who first appointed me to a national committee. Scared the bejesus out of me when I got that call, because I thought my chapter had really screwed up. To both of you, I say thank you for having the confidence in me, even in my inexperience. It means the world to me. And then there's Ed Clint, who not only continues to provide the wisest of counsel, but is a true and generous friend to my family. We love you, Mr. Ed. And finally, the last brothers that I'll name in my list of thank yous, to two brothers who I met for the first time at a national nominating committee meeting in Charlotte, North Carolina, in about November of 1996. Brian Stratton and the late, great LeVan Robinson. The only word that I could even come up with that comes close to how I would love to describe these men is inspiration. Brian and LeVan at that meeting in Charlotte were among the first national leaders that I had met who just encouraged me to keep doing what I was doing without any kind of qualification or correction. And that was the push that I needed to keep on going. Thank you so much, Brian. And LeVan, wherever you are right now, don't let your Schwanstecker get you in too much trouble up there. To all with whom I've served over the years, and to those brothers, too numerous to name, who've shared a thoughtful conversation or an inspirational moment or a word of encouragement, thank you, and keep doing it. I want to frame my remarks today by telling a story. I want all of you to know of a remarkable person who lost her 4-year battle with cancer this past November. Debbie Hartz was a master educator, and in 2013 was named the Hoosier Educator of the Year. She was the kind of teacher who made you want to do better in your own classroom every time a child crossed the threshold of your door. She was also the fiercest of advocates for teachers in public education, serving at local, state, and national levels, and she had a far-reaching influence on education policy. I had a great deal of respect for her professionally. But what made Deb was her enormous and infectious personality. Take, for example, her 60th birthday celebration, during which she gleefully bar-hopped around Evansville in a limousine and a Queen of Hearts costume with the entire cast of Wonderland in tow. Had you known her, you would have expected absolutely nothing less from Deb Hartz. I was there the day she was diagnosed. We were in the same meeting, and she received a call and went into an adjacent office to take the call. I don't believe I will ever forget the wailing sound that came out of that office behind that door. She was told that her cancer was inoperable and was given just 6 months to live. Yet she fought for 4 years, never quitting work, always pushing herself and her colleagues, always living her life with exuberance and grace. Debbie Hartz was a true inspiration to everyone with whom she came into contact. At her memorial service, during one of the eulogies, complete with a feather boa and a recollection of her beautiful cackling laughter, I was reminded of one of her favorite sayings. And as soon as I heard it, I knew that Debbie had helped me write this speech. Here's the saying: if the sky is the limit, why are there footprints on the moon? Brothers and honored guests, what if we defined ourselves by our possibilities rather than by our limitations? What if we approached our lives, our relationships, our work according to their potential rather than by what is holding them back? Imagine for a moment what we might accomplish, or the depth of our relationships if we did away with that would take too much time, or there's no money for that, or I don't think I have much in common with him or her, or I may not be very good at that. All of these are statements representing a fear of failure or rejection, or of what negative outcome might occur, and I'm imploring you to not define yourself by your fears. Do failure and rejection and negative consequences hurt? Absolutely. Am I advocating for recklessness? Absolutely not. My friend Debbie could have allowed her cancer to define her, and no one would have begrudged her that. But she refused to do that, and in so doing, inspired countless others, enjoyed and loved her family, and participated joyfully in the sorrows of the world. Sinfonia as an organization is no different in many respects than we are as individual human beings. It is easy to fall into the trap of questioning rather than acting, of pointing out every fault and potential pitfall with a new idea in favor of the satisfying familiarity of the status quo. We are right to be cautious and careful, but not when it stunts progress. We should expect accountability from those who assume certain roles and responsibilities, but not when the result of those expectations is infighting and strife. As leaders at any level of our fraternity, and all of you here are leaders because you are here, remember that, brothers. We have a responsibility to be stewards of this brotherhood that was entrusted to us nearly 117 years ago. Too often, however, the responsibility of stewardship is misinterpreted to mean solely the maintenance of that which was received. But stewardship is much more than that. It is a responsibility to encourage growth and progress, to realize potential to the fullest extent possible. If any of us entrusted a sum of money to an investor, would we be content 10 years later if the investor had simply taken the necessary steps to ensure that the original sum was maintained without any growth? If the balance in your account was the same as the amount you originally deposited? We most certainly would not be satisfied with the investor's efforts, nor should we be satisfied with stagnation in our order. Brothers, we have been given a precious gift, Sinfonia, and it is our responsibility to share that gift with those around us by acting at all times according to our obligation and demanding excellence of ourselves, our brothers, of our fellow man. Our words and our actions must match. If we say we hold the brotherhood of man as one of our highest ideals, then it is not acceptable to treat our fellow man with disrespect. If we say that Sinfonia stands for the best in music, then it is not enough to simply roll out tired renditions of Sinfonia songs and ill-prepared performances on secondary instruments as an American music program. I believe in the capability and ingenuity of our members, but I also recognize that when new ideas are launched or changes come around, things will not always go as smoothly as planned. Do not let the highs of today or the lows of tomorrow cloud your vision of the trajectory of Sinfonia on and ever upward. If we are to realize our purpose, if we are to be men of the highest type, we must be men of action. As you return to your regular life, away from the excitement of a convention, think of the best thing you can do as a brother, a chapter, an association, the best thing you can do as a human being, and go and do that thing. Imagine that. Sinfonians from coast to coast, all working on their best thing, casting aside their fears of failure or rejection and acting for the betterment of humankind. Imagine the influence we would have. This is the very message our founder, Ossian Everett Mills, delivered to brothers when he answered the question, what are the possibilities of Sinfonia? He wrote this: the type of man you and I are, the personal influence that radiates from our lives, will be the power to make or unmake the men with whom we are now associated or who shall come after us. So let us, you and I, for the sake of our brother man, individually strive by example and influence to lift the standard of thought and conduct from the low level of selfishness and self-indulgence up to the lofty realms of aspirational thought and self-denial. We are standing at a precipice, a jumping-off point. We exist during a time when society is questioning the benefit of Greek life and fraternities in particular, on our college campuses as a result of the unfortunate and egregious actions of a few. This should not be a signal to us that our existence is doomed. Rather, it is a call to Sinfonia, to Sinfonians, each of you individually, to be the shining example of a true fraternity. Those few have lost their way, but we are not them, brothers. We are Sinfonians. We are men of the highest type, and we are uniquely positioned to assume a role as leaders in Greek life. For years now, we have been experiencing a Sinfonian renaissance, a rebirth and refocus on our founding ideals, leading to unprecedented prosperity and growth. We are inspired and empowered by the noblest of ideals. And when we act in accordance with those ideals, our influence cannot be overstated and our momentum cannot be stopped. The width and breadth and depth of Sinfonia is not measured by what we do as an organization, but by who we are to a man. Brothers, be men of integrity. Be sincere. Be kind. Be genuine. When you are in a rush to get out of the campus bookstore this fall and you see that poor freshman away from home for the first time, scared to death and afraid to admit it, struggling under half of her body weight in books, stop and help her. When you're on a Mills music mission and you notice that person who may be in their last days and who may not have had a visitor in weeks, take the extra time and effort to talk with them and befriend them. You may miss the next song, but that conversation may be among the most important human interactions of your life. If there's someone in your life you care about deeply, tell them. Tell them every day. Make it the first thing that you do when you wake up each morning and the last thing that you do when you go to sleep at night. There are no more powerful words in any language than I love you. Sinfonia is what you are, nothing more and nothing less. If we are to be a positive influence as an organization, you must be a positive influence on that part of this world that you touch. You have all at some point made a decision to join this organization, to be a member of Phi Mu Alpha. I am now calling on all of you, on all Sinfonians, to join a movement. Now, if I read Facebook right, some of you may be calling this a hype train. Get on board, brothers. When you leave this wonderful place and this convention, I ask you not to leave as just some guy who wears the letters. Leave to mingle again with the outer world as a Sinfonian. But don't just stop there. Don't simply remind yourself, I am a Sinfonian. Instead, say this, I am Sinfonia. Let's try that right now. Audience participation time. Say that with me, brothers. I am Sinfonia. All right. Everybody get out your phone and turn on the camera. We're going to trend something on Twitter here in a second, brothers. Take a selfie. Tweet it. Hashtag I am Sinfonia. Everybody do it. When we close our convention in a little while and you guys are taking pictures with your chapter brothers, go ahead, keep taking pictures. You can listen and snap pictures at the same time. Keep sending those pictures out with hashtag I am Sinfonia. When you return to your campus or your workplace or your home, return with the declaration, I am Sinfonia. It may seem right now like a small, silly thing, but I believe that when individual Sinfonians identify more closely with Sinfonia as a whole, I believe that our best days will follow. I am Sinfonia. I'll close today the way that I began, with the story of a remarkable person. Richard Dennison is one of 22 people in the world who does what he does. Well, did what he did. He retired recently. He was the company manager for the Beatles' Love Show in Las Vegas, and I had the pleasure of meeting him while attending a conference there about a year and a half ago. Now, it will come as no surprise to those of you who know my wife, Courtney. It was she who met Richard first. While I was conferencing, she went to dinner and struck up a conversation with an unassuming gentleman reading a newspaper 2 seats down from her at the bar. When I met up with them a little later, Richard gave us bags of memorabilia from the show, upgraded our tickets, and gave us an impromptu tour of the theater. All of that was pretty exceptional. In truth, he had nothing to gain from showing such generosity to a couple from Indiana in town for the weekend. But it could be chalked up to nothing more than really good customer service. The truly remarkable thing about Richard is this. He called every single employee he encountered by name, from the ticket taker to the usher to the guy sweeping up the theater. And he asked them a question that he would only know to ask if he had taken the time to get to know them. He not only understood that it was important to make everyone around him feel special and appreciated, he believed it and he lived it. Even though he was one of 22 people in the world who held such a prestigious position, he in no way acted as though he were superior to anyone, and he was genuine about it. As Sinfonians, we are to be men of the highest type, but we are not superior to our fellows. We all have our faults, and when we recognize those in ourselves or in others, we are charged to lift one another up, to take a genuine interest in the well-being of all people, and to act on that interest. Brothers, this is what it means to be and not seem, to do and not simply to talk, to have the right ideal, the true motive, and patiently to transform conduct in accordance with it. My name is Mark Lichtenberg. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a son and a brother and a friend. I'm a musician, and I'm an educator, and I am humbled and honored to be Sinfonia's national president. Be well, do good work, be good men, and always remind yourself, I am Sinfonia. So let it be for Sinfonia.